One of the craziest stories is how people sometimes accidentally find themselves turning into rap stars. Action Bronson's a classic case of how if you just build your persona, you can go very far. He's a man who succeeded both as a chef and then as a rapper, and then kind of back to a chef, all thanks to him really not deviating from being his authentic self and not caring about what people had to say. It didn't matter if it was music, or art, or cooking. He was just all about being him. Since the beginning though, cooking was in his blood. He was always helping his Jewish mother and grandmother out in the kitchen. He would absorb their techniques, make stuff together with them, and just like that, it became a part of his life. In an interview with GQ, he said, "I started cooking at a real young age. I was always helping my mother and grandmother in the kitchen, rolling out dough, helping with the flour, measurements and stuff like that. It just got me acclimated to doing things early." Plus, his Albanian father had a Mediterranean restaurant, so there's that. The passion for food was always there in the family. He developed some strong roots in it. As a teenager, Bronson was already good at cooking. Plus, he loved it, so much so that he gave up on a formal education, left high school, and set out to pursue his culinary endeavors. Thanks to the foundation he had acquired during his childhood and together with some formal training he received after leaving school, he was able to make great strides in the culinary world and fast. He quickly amassed a strong reputation as a down-to-earth, practical chef who never overcomplicated things. For the sake of context, let's say something needs just a little bit of microwaving. He'll heat it like a normal person in the microwave rather than look down on the microwave as a chef. Most professional chefs actively deny using a microwave. Chef Gordon Ramsay doesn't even have one in his own kitchen. But Bronson had a different point of view. He enjoys the convenience. In fact, this is what he had to say about microwaves when asked by Thrasher. "If you want to heat up a sauce very quickly, put it in the microwave. If you want to melt chocolate very quickly, put it in the microwave. If you want to melt butter very quickly, put it in the microwave. Sometimes microwave meatballs are banging." Bronson went on to host his very own online cooking show called Action in the Kitchen. And as a notable Fire Flame gourmet chef, Bronson had a good thing going. And he also had a music hobby on the side, which he was pursuing together with his friends who were already well versed in the field and understood the landscape. But then one day, an unexpected accident in the kitchen broke his leg, which hindered his daytime job, so he made the conscious decision to go all in on rapping and learn how to do it. His friends were doing it, it was cool enough, and so basically their energy just pulled him into the world of music. And they helped him a lot. He was almost technically incompetent at that point, but they helped him upload his music, get his music mixed, and then send it out. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows though. Bronson didn't even know how to use the computer. It's a good thing his friends were there though to help him put his songs out in the world. And then you could tell just through his music the love he had for food. The raps he put on the internet were well received. His debut mixtape, Bon Appetit, was released on January 4, 2011. Then on March 15th of the same year, he released his debut studio album, Dr. Lecter. Action Bronson's music at this time had a unique lure to it. Think about it, it's 2011, and he came in to bring a different kind of vibe to the world of hip-hop, and he succeeded with carving out his own lane. He was brazen in his use of foul language. He would curse like a sailor, let's keep it real. And they weren't even just limited to English curses. His energy was contagious. He'd stick to casual, comfy clothes instead of flashy, fancy stuff that most rappers would end up wearing, even though he was a big guy. And without even trying, Bronson was letting the world know that he had something different to offer from the regular rap mold. Of course, he also put in some serious hard work and dedication over the next few years. He released his second album, Blue Chips, on March 12, 2012, and a few months later, in August of 2012, he signed a management deal with Goliath Artists, which is a management company that also managed people like Danny Brown, who was in a bit of the same realm as Action Bronson, as well as people like Blink-182 and The Alchemist. The success compounded from here on out. In that same month, Bronson got himself featured on Odd Future, The Alchemist collaborative album called No Idols, and he was getting written up reports on different news outlets. Fast forward to a few months later, he joined Warner Brothers, and on November 21st, 2012, less than 2 years into rapping, he and The Alchemist, a legendary producer, released a collaborative mixtape, Rare Chandeliers. He would make the XXL freshman list in 2013 and was one of the quickest rising acts to come out of the blog era of hip-hop at that time. From there on out, Bronson performed at many different venues, was featured in many different magazines and blogs, In early 2014, he went on a brief tour with different dates with acts and in countries like Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, and performing alongside Eminem, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, and more. But it's not as important as what he would do next. In those years, he focused a lot more on rapping in comparison to cooking, which was his initial passion. But he was finally back to cooking on May 6, 2014. Not necessarily cooking himself, but he was sponsored by Vice to host a web series where he traveled around the world, partook in culinary adventures, visited restaurants, and tried out delicious foods. And the web series was titled F, That's Delicious. Another thing to consider here is how he was also contacted by Sony. They wanted him to do something similar and would have likely paid more, but he said it was one of the most awkward meetings ever. He went with Vice instead, simply because he wanted to do things the way he wanted and what felt natural. He said, "Vice is more up my alley," and he signed a contract with them for F That's Delicious, even if it meant taking home less money than what Sony was offering. But he never regretted the decision, not even a little bit. He's never complained about Vice from what I can gather, and pretty much travels the world, cooks whatever he wants, eats whatever he wants, enjoys life, and drops whatever raps he wants. He told the New York Post that he had a stomach of steel and he could eat just about anything except mackerel. Seemingly he doesn't like cooked fish. "I despise mackerel. I really don't like cooked fish in general. I don't like when fish is cooked. I like it raw." Just like his raps. So this was how an unexpected leg injury led Action Bronson down the path of becoming an accomplished rapper. But since he came back to cooking and hosting a successful web series, how is he able to juggle both of these careers now? In simple words, he pretty much just remains true to whatever he's feeling. He doesn't engage in things that don't excite him. If he feels like rapping, one day he raps. He was also one of the first rappers in the 2010s that came up during that era to start getting backlash for his lyrics, having performed them many times, and shock factor raps in his early days. Keep in mind, he was coming out the same time that Odd Future was coming out, and people were pretending to be offended by these things. He was accused of many different things because of the words he used in his lyrics, but Bronson had a reply for his actual fans, and he said, "I respect and love women totally. Sometimes I use words that aren't pleasant, but I'm talking about a certain kind of person. Why be offended by anything? This is art." At another instant, he said something similar. "I'm not really saying anything that outlandish. I mean, maybe, but what's outlandish? What's outrageous at this point?" Though through it all, he never lost his lively, carefree persona. As we mentioned earlier, Bronson just wasn't the type to follow through with whatever was trending at the moment. You'll never see me in a weird street brand or somebody gives me a shirt and I just wear it to wear it. Unless you're throwing me a significant amount of money to wear a shirt, I'm not wearing it. I like Carhartt. They don't give me any money. They probably will never give me money, but I'll always wear it because this is what I've been wearing my whole life. So F it. Comfort was everything. In an interview with Pitchfork, when he was asked about his dream job, which you probably imagine he's already living his dream, he had a funny answer which could be interpreted as a troll. He said, "I'd be cooking, but I'd have a staff. And while I'm rapping, they could cook. It's a gold mine." So he wanted to perform. But now in the year 2023, it's been 12 years since he first went all in on music. He's released 5 albums. He's had collaborations with so many different producers, different artists, and a lot of things have happened and changed, from internet controversy and unexpected emergency surgery in 2015 and the effort to lose weight to stay healthy for the sake of his family, which he's lost a considerable amount of weight. And he kind of demonstrates that an individual doesn't necessarily have to check any of the boxes for what a successful rapper looks like, is interested in, or writes like. And he could still have major success with his own audience that has continued to support him, like diehards, for over a decade. He's definitely left his mark on the world of hip-hop, maybe not a huge stamp, but in the fine print, there's a section for him. He's also got himself a sneaker collaboration now, a New Balance sneaker named Balaclava, which is supposed to be releasing sometime this year. And how fitting for his brand that it's a Middle Eastern pastry. So looks like that food connection, whether it's raps, whether it's film, whether it's shows, and whether it's even clothing and apparel, or sneakers in this case, that's just never going to change.